First of all, to my normal viewers, I know this is going to be a little bit different from my normal subject matter, but trust me, that doesn't make this video any less interesting than my others. In this video, we are going to be talking about one of the longest running and strangest communities in online gaming, which is 2b2t. Let's get into the video. The very details of the beginning are blurry, but there is still information for us to look at. When 2b2t was first opened, it was a GMod server hosted by a man under the username GeorgeBush420. This name was based off of a Team Fortress 2 server known as 2 Fort 2 Furious, which was based off of 2 Fast 2 Furious, and so on. After a while, he decided he would rather run a Minecraft server. At this time, the original creator of the server passed off ownership to one of his friends, who is now known as Housemaster, due to him having a way better internet connection. The server was originally advertised on 4chan through the /v and /b sections. This led to the original period being known as the 4chan period. The next period is now known as the Forum Massacre period, which was when a person named Cheshead saw George and House's 2b2t post and posted a lot about it on FacePunch. The Face Punchers then decided to try and bring order to the server. This was also when a now infamous player under the username PopBob did the first backdoor on the server, which allowed him and his friends to get supplies to build some of the most iconic towns of 2b2t, including Ziggy Town and Plugin Town. This also was the period when two people, Offtopia and the Judge Holden, founded the Judges Group, which was the pioneer of group bases and were also the first players to make it 1 million blocks away from spawn. This era ended in February of 2012 when the Facepunch Republic disbanded, which started the Great Server Decay. This began when the Facepunch Republic left the server, which led to a good amount of 4chaners leaving because there was nothing to do. This on top of the server lagging so bad that Housemaster had to shut down the server for 3 months, ending with him changing the IP from 2b2t.net to 2b2t.org, and having players quit simply because they think the server is gone forever. However, after this period of a few players, 2b2t switched to a temp map to test all the plugins, which changed this all. Two groups. One was a small group that was created during the temp map, and the other players were remnants of the Facepunch Republic, teamed up to create the now famous Valkyria. This period begins in early 2013 and is actually named after the largest group. This period is known as the First Valkyrian period. This group built a city now known as Valkyria. This era had some form of peace on the server as there was a lack of activity and low amount of players at this point. However, this era did see the first 2 spawn incursions, which, if you do not know, is a thing where a group of people go to spawn and kill a bunch of the new players. That's pretty much it. The first spawn incursion was started in June of 2013 out of boredom. It ended in a week. Then Valkyria decided to start working on a base called Asgard, which was griefed before it was finished. Then there was a second incursion, after IGN posted an article including the server. This lasted for 2.5 months. Sato86, one of the leaders of this incursion, has went on record to say that he regrets doing the second incursion, as that could have led to getting regular players on 2b2t during a time of need. The next period is short and has nothing much in it, which is why it is known as an interlude period. Most of the Valkyrian members moved on their own or joined other small groups, while another group, known as the Legion of Shenandoah, was starting to gain power. This next period, the second Valkyrian period, though regarded as a short era, was full of stuff happening. It started when Fenrir Project was founded, then Asgard 2 was founded. Asgard 2 had a population of 30 players, was one of the biggest bases the server had seen up to that time. Asgard 2 was griefed due to a coordinate leak that led to the third spawn incursion from Anger. Starting in May of 2015 was the third incursion. Sato86 wanted this incursion to be less violent and more creative than the others. This incursion led to the creation of Wrath Outpost, one of the largest bases near spawn that was completely created out of tens of thousands of obsidian blocks. The incursion was a success, and the end of the incursion led to the end of the second Valkyrian period. This part begins with the pre-hype period. This era was not defined by a single event, but rather just an era of stuff happening that led up to the hype period. At this point, many players settled into a city known as Aureus City, including a few well-known players on the server, such as Spartan512, James Russells, and a person that will become a point of interest in the future, Fit. This period was also a point of great destruction as many large bases like Space Valk, King's Landing, and Olympus were destroyed. A group of players hacked into an opt account, George Bush 420. The group of players were able to get what was known as super weapons. By the end of the period, the server was very close to death, having sometimes less than 5 players on. This next period is where many people know 2b2t from, when a YouTuber known as the Camping Rusher with nearly 1 million subscribers posted a video on 2b2t, which caused many people to flood the server. Housemaster decided to quickly change the server to a temporary map and tried to figure out what to do, leading him to add a queue system. The old players noticed this influx of people and realized that this would rather need an entire war rather than just an incursion, as the server was now seeing highs of over 2,000 players trying to join at one point. 4 days after the Camping Rusher uploaded his first video on the server, he declared war on the old players, which he referred to as OGs and established Team Rusher. This is where Fit comes into play. He uploaded a video in which he and 2 of his friends killed 40 rushers and inserted himself as the leader of Team Veteran. Many things happened during this period, starting with the lava cast, a large lava wall around spawn to keep the rushers in, but this failed after rushers were finding holes in the wall. Then on June 22nd, a team of veterans found rushers' base and promptly griefed it. On July 24th, Fit declared an incursion of spawn. On July 31st, Ori City, the base of Fit, and many others at the time had its coordinates leaked after a user acted as a girl to convince one of the members to give the coordinates. The members of Ori City decided that they would grief it themselves. On August 5th, Fit and Rusher scheduled a duel, which was won by Fit. Fit declared the war over on October 9th, as players were getting bored with the war after being fought for almost 5 months. Fit, however, came out nicely, with him having over 100,000 subscribers by the end of the war. These next periods I am not going to talk about in much detail, as these periods are most well known and not as interesting. The first of which is the Grand Deceleration, where the player counts were dropping after the war. Many small groups were starting to break up. There were also a few groups that started up, an example of which is the X-Highway Digging Group, which reached the world border on March 26, 2017. There were many dupes during this period, the most notable of which is the Donkey dupe, and that was one of the largest dupes of all time, even though it lasted only 3 days. There was also another highway that was dug to the world border after that. Also, there were many groups that were lagging the server to make it unplayable, and even crashing the server. This next period was the Unification period, which was an interesting period for the server. First of all, many groups unified together during this period, which gave this period its name. Another thing that happened during this was Antvenom made a video on 2b2t, causing a 6th incursion. There was also turmoil due to many YouTubers logging on during that period, the biggest of which being popular MMOs, but many of them did not make videos on the server. This also caused a form of slave labor on 2b2t, in which new players were forced to create a giant obsidian wall. This period ended when a user named Jared2013 started an event called the 31 Days 31 Griefs event, in which every day of May he griefed a different base. This ended after 31 days and started at the age we currently live in, the Age of Rebirth. Not much has happened in this period besides a few griefing and YouTubers coming in on the server. The biggest thing to happen in this period was the time when Fuse, a YouTuber with now over 1 million subscribers, joined the server, causing the French invasion. And the aftermath of that is where we are right now. I will have to admit that I am not old to the server, only having joined during the Russian invasion, but it was still fun to go back and do research into the history of 2b2t. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. And hey, if you guys enjoyed this video, why don't you watch my last video, which delves into the history of The Simpsons. Thank you for watching.